Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? Another week, another edition of the show. This week I have Rob Froese from Friend Club Records on the show. We were dealing with some technical difficulties back and forth, and we were up and running now, so I'm finally glad to say, welcome to the show. Welcome to be the first record label on the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Apologies for the difficulties, but thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Excited to have this chat.
Me too. So Jesse from Curtail, who is a band on your label.
Yep.
Who's awesome, hooked us up and said that he thought, so I'll blame Jesse if this doesn't go well, which I already blamed Jesse for the last 20 minutes.
Good.
But said we had to talk. So, I mean, let's get the backstory on Friend Club Records, how it started, why you wanted to do it, and how fast it's grown.
So yeah, Friend Club. My buddies and I were all in a Facebook group together. It was like an offshoot of one of the big emo groups in Facebook, and my buddy Daniel and I were talking a lot about different records that we loved and ways we might want to put them out. We priced all sorts of different ideas, and we were committed to doing it in a way that fiscally made sense. And then our friend Nicole came to us and said, "Hey, I have the ability to do tape duplication. So if you ever wanted to start a record label that way, you could do that." And at first it was like tapes. Like I like tapes, but like how many people really like tapes? And went back and forth. And then we paused on it for a bit. And then the pandemic came along and everyone got really bored and watched way too much TV, myself included. And one day in like March or April, I turned to my wife and said, "Hey, I need to do something other than this. And so can I light some money on fire starting a record label?"
And so Tiger King wasn't holding you into just wanting to stay in front of your TV. You just said, "I can't do this."
Tiger King, I have not watched that yet, and I'm proud to say that I've avoided that one somehow.
How did you avoid that during what was a mass shutdown of the world and there was nothing else to watch?
I have no idea. I don't know what we were. I mean, like, I that whole section of life is a blur, right? But yeah, I managed to dodge Tiger King. But what I was able to do was convince my wife that a few $100 was better spent on supporting my friend's art than it was in our bank account. And so I was able to connect with a few friends who had albums. My friend Ben from Germany had an album that he'd been sitting on for a year that's absolutely fantastic under the name Sandco. My friend Daniel had an EP under Ray Gun Solace that he was sitting on. Another friend had another album. And it just all of a sudden all came together. And we were all of a sudden putting out 4 tapes for an initial run of what was then all of a sudden Friend Club Records. And it was like super exciting and super fun. And a bunch of really kind people were super supportive. And then we lined up another 4 releases and the same thing happened. And we're like, okay, we might be onto something here. And now coming up on 2 years later, we're going to put out about our 75th release. So it's been a ride. We did some crazy stuff. We've done 16 tapes for Furnace Fest last year. We're going to do another 10 this year. Just all sorts of crazy opportunities keep coming into our laps, and we keep getting to take them.
That's awesome. And I think I bought some of your tapes at Furnace Fest because I was there last year.
Thank you. That was a wild, crazy, but fun ride.
Yeah, it was awesome, and it was sad when it was over. But I think it was much needed for everyone in attendance. Like it was an awesome time. Couldn't have asked for better weather. The people there that put on Furnace Fest really know what they're doing. So you got all the credit to them.
Yeah, that whole team just they just knocked it out of the park, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do this year. They've lined up another crazy lineup, so hopefully you're going to make it. It's going to be fun.
Oh, I want to, because one of my favorite bands of all time is performing. So, and I don't want to wait till they come here by me in October, but it's just one of those things where it's an investment,
Yep.
kind of like a record label. So, I mean, having a supportive person in your life, such as a wife, that lets you take that money and do that. I'm lucky myself having a supportive wife to let me do this, and this costs me money every time I do this. So, thanks to the women behind us. That's awesome. How did you continue to convince her? Because I would have to imagine that those first couple initial runs, it's not like you were rolling in the dough, right? Or am I wrong? Am I breaking trade secrets right now?
No. So the first 4 tapes, I was like, I'm committed to doing donations with everything, and we ended up losing money on all of them because I donated more than we brought in. I hope my wife's not listening. But my wife appreciates the joy and the excitement that I got from it, and so she's continued to let me increase the investment into the label, and it's probably close to 200x what I initially said I was going to put into it at this point in time. But she appreciates that it's something I can do outside of my day job that brings a lot of joy to my life and enables me to support my friends.
Yeah, and I mean that at the end of the day, that's the goal. Like, I call it the selfish act. It's what I do here. It's I believe in people and I want to support them, but I also get tons of enjoyment out of it about hearing people's stories, such as someone like you just being like, "Hey, I got to start a record label because I got all these friends who are so talented and they need a little bit of help, and I want to be the one to do it." I mean, it's commendable to do stuff like that.
But like you said, it's selfish because it brings me joy, and I'm sure this brings you joy, right? And so it's
that's why I call it the selfish act, because you are doing it with good intentions, but you're also, sometimes you feel maybe you're reaping more, and it's the enjoyment out of it than who knows what someone else is getting on the other side. Like, I don't know who's going to listen to this, how much they're going to like it, but I'm enjoying our conversation. So to me, that's really the end goal, and what music does, and basically you starting a label, showing it's that sense of community, and music is that universal language that can be understood throughout every continent that's out there. Music brings everyone together. It doesn't tear people apart.
Yep. You can say that again.
I won't, but it's
you can edit that out too.
You've created a community for something that you had a lot of passion about. So where did that passion start with music in your life?
So it started with discovering my dad's records, and I guess my dad's and mom's records. Weirdly, my dad's the pop fan and my mom's likes hard rock, and so that was an interesting discovery for me as a kid. But so discovering my dad's Beach Boys records and putting on live in London, and falling in love with the joy of Wouldn't It Be Nice. And then from there, I had a friend come over and bring Green Day's Dookie to my house, and fell in love with something with a lot more energy, and something that I felt like I discovered on my own that could be mine. And then from there to being a teenager and seeing the Juliana Theory play Constellation, and just having my mind blown by a band that could put that much passion into a closing song, and just takes a song that was epic and make it just absolutely insane. And now we're 20 years on from that, but I feel like I'm still that 19-year-old watching the Juliana Theory in a smoky bar in Buffalo.
That's what I love about music, because it's the closest thing we have in reality to a time machine. You can hear a song and it brings you back to where you first heard it, or you hear a song and you know exactly the moment, you smell the smell that you were smelling at that time when you first heard that song. And now what you're doing is you're helping create, to put those things that someone handed you Dookie. And, prior to I forget what it was on at that time, but prior to that, Green Day was on Lookout Records, and
Yep.
that was a small independent label. And coming out, I think it's crazy too to when it comes to Dookie, like how I guess I couldn't accept it. I was a senior in high school when that came out, and I was already big into Kerplunk and Smooth Out Sloppy Hours, and I was already a Green Day fan. And when that came out, I was like, wow, this is so good. But then all of a sudden I saw all the people that used to make fun of me for wearing a Green Day shirt loving Green Day, and I was like, well, maybe I don't like them anymore. Because the football players who were pushing me in the lockers because I had green hair started blasting it, and I was just like, you sons of bitches, you just stole something from me.
That's funny. Have you read Larry Livermore's How to Ruin a Record Label?
No, I haven't.
So that he goes into like the whole agreement with Green Day that enabled him to keep Kerplunk and the album before it, and like it's that whole story of how they came with their lawyers from the major label, and he still had like a piece of paper that he'd handwritten out an agreement on that they were still going to be good people to each other, and they like agreed to sign that despite the lawyers all wanting something much more legal than that. It's just a fascinating story. And it's really that book. Anyone who's looking to run a record label, I strongly encourage to read that book. It's the story of Lookout Records. It is kind of sad towards the end because obviously Lookout's no more. But the way that he ran it at the beginning and all the things around the Gilmore scene that he was involved in, it's really fascinating.
So, I mean, is that some of your, how would I say, is it a lesson learning book? Is that, how do you find a way to do this? It's not, how did you have any, substance to start a record label?
So I've been blessed to have some friends who are really, really smart and talented in ways that I can never be. So my friend Nicole, who used to run a label called Broken World Media, had experience with how to run a tape label and did all of our initial tape runs for us. My friend Reese, who's now one of the 3 people that I run the label with, does all of our art stuff, and he's super talented and able to make all the art stuff happen. My friend Jamie worked at Victory Records at its heyday, and so like gets that whole PR side of things. And it was really like the opportunity to leverage all of our different friends' strengths and make this into something that I can focus on what I'm good at, and they can all focus on what they're good at, and we're able to be successful together because of it.
Now, if everyone's coming from different areas and you're all coming together to do this, I mean, how is responsibility split up between everybody? Because it takes an entire group of people to make something work, as well as, I mean, in 2 years, 75 releases is fucking, it's crazy for something to start with a couple tapes.
Yeah. So I guess I'm the one behind the scenes kind of pulling the strings. Jamie does all the social media stuff and finds a lot of our new bands that are coming in. And then Reese, anything that remotely has to do with art, he's just a wizard, and he takes ideas that are half baked and even a quarter baked and turns them into just absolutely insane stuff. And I don't know if you've looked through our catalog, but there's probably 50% of the releases that we've put out, Reese has either done the layout entirely and like the art entirely, or else made sure all the different pieces that the artist brought came together and looked good.
And when it comes to stuff like that, did you lean on anybody and seek out advice from other people, other labels that maybe you knew of, and said, what is it that, I know I'm not going to be, Arista Records in the 70s, but what is it? How do I do this, and how do I not screw anybody over or fuck anything up along the way?
Yeah. So Keith from Count Your Lucky Stars was a huge help giving advice along the way. Rob from Wiretap gave a lot of really good advice. Matt from Steadfast has been a constant friend who's supported me along the way. And then, like I mentioned before, Nicole's experience with running Broken World Media was a huge thing in our early days. And I'm sure there are others who've come along that I'm going to leave out, but those are the ones that pop to mind immediately.
When it comes to bands on the label, I mean, I know you have somebody looking, but people come to you and say, "Hey, I want to be on your label." What's your process to vetting some things? Because they're, in my 5 hours a day on Bandcamp, there's some really bad shit out there that for some reason or another has been picked up by somebody. And when I say bad shit, I mean it's like people who have no business ever putting a recording of anything out when they're farting in the microphones. Like, I just don't get it.
I had someone come to me with an album that was entirely like thrashcore with fart noises over top of it. Literally. So everything's kind of been like this chain reaction of friends, and there are some things that I've pursued because they're, like when we put out the Dennis and Mars Holding Hands album, that was something that I loved when I was a teenager, and so something that was a passion project for me to pursue. But everything else, I'm trying to see. It's like this person came to us through this person, who came to us from this person. Some people came to us through Facebook. Some things we found by listening, but most of the things, it's all friends of friends that have come to us and said, "Hey, this is something you should check out," or "This is someone who, would appreciate working with you." And it's been really, really cool to build out a community like that. And we've got, because of that, it does feel like it's a big family, even though we've put out a ton of stuff. We've got a group chat with probably 50 people in it, and almost everybody's active in it, which is crazy and gets absolutely chaotic. But that's just the way that this big, huge family works together.
That's awesome. And here's a question that could be hard to answer. How do you say no to someone?
I'm dealing with that right now. Some people, you say, "Hey, this isn't the right fit for me, but maybe you might want to go talk to this person instead," or something like that. We've other people, they just they get really excited about it, and it's really hard to be like, "Hey, this isn't for me." And sometimes you do have to say, "This is why," but it's always trying to be constructive and positive to people. I don't ever want to leave people with a bad feeling, but also sometimes you do have to give hard truths.
If there was one album in your life that you could have been, have on Friend Club Records, it's already out, but let's just say there was a record that was so important to you that you wish you could have that Friend Club, little stamp on the back. What would you pick?
Anything? Like, are we just going open? I mean, are we saying like Sigur Rós, Gate Dispersion? I could throw the Friend Club logo on the back of that and call it a day. I mean, that'd be sick, right? But
yeah.
I mean, the fact that we were able to work with the band Showbread and do Showbread as Showdead and do a pressing of that, and we're still waiting for it back from the plant at this point. Hopefully by the time this airs, we have it. Like, that band for me as a kid, I mean, they were just so important to me, and just so, I mean, I was a Christian homeschool kid, and they were basically, for lack of a better way to put it, Christian homeschool kids trying to emulate the Blood Brothers. And like, that was my Blood Brothers growing up. And so I working with them was just absolutely insane to me. Yeah, I don't know, that the kind of, not that it like did it for me, but that was the one where I was like, I would love to work with this band, and then it happened.
Yeah, and but isn't that what you're doing? What you're doing is for those moments, right? It's for having that thing that was so important to you, and it, come to fruition that you have an opportunity to work with something that was so important to you. I mean, that's one of those things where you probably, like, as soon as you get the, "Hey, yeah, it's going to happen," you just run around like a little kid, like outside and doing circles and be like, "I can't believe it. I can't believe it."
Definitely that happened. Yeah, it's one of those moments where you sit there and you get the email back, and it's like, how do I even respond to this? Like, another thing, I got to like work with Josh from 68 on something. I'm like, you were the Chariot, you were the voice of Bless the Martyr and Kiss the Child, and we were able to work with you on something. Like, how does that happen? It's just crazy, but yet it did.
Well, congratulations, and that's awesome for you. And this, it's the universe always paying you back for doing that selfish act that you did, as starting Friend Club. So good for you. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And I think the lesson I've learned is, don't don't hesitate to reach out to people and see what happens. Like, you never know what's going to happen if you try. And I think that was a really important lesson we learned early on, was crazy stuff happens if you just ask the right people.
And see, and I think that's an important thing, because I mean, I'm the type of person that I always think someone's time is so valuable, and like certain people, they'll never want to talk to me. I don't want to reach out to them. And then I get a little push, and it's always, dude, just reach out. What's the worst that can happen? They're not going to answer you, or they say no. Like, what does it matter? And certain people, like, son of a bitch, I had one of my favorite bands of all time on the show that I never thought in a million years I would ever talk to. And, it's one of those things where I was like, yeah, I was the little kid outside, and I was like, I was ready to cry. And it was just one of those things that's just like, man, that's so, wow, who am I? And that's a lot of the times that I step back and say, who am I? Like, that they said yes to, like, I'm nobody.
Yeah. That's it exactly. Like, what the heck did I do to get to win this lottery ticket? Right? Like, I know the feeling, exactly what you're saying.
And I mean, there's so much music in your life. Like you say, someone, showed you Dookie and it changed your life. How did you start? I mean, you brought up being a homeschooled Christian kid, which, listen, that story's been on this show plenty of times with plenty of artists. I mean, it really has. And I think it's I think that story is larger than most people know.
It is amazing. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it is amazing how many of us there are. And when you start, like, especially in this space, I think there's just a lot of homeschool Christian kids who felt like weirdos, and so they gravitated to outsider, for lack of a better term, outsider music, because we felt like we didn't fit in any ways. And here was a community that accepted us no matter who we were.
Yeah, and that's what music is, though. Like, I always call shows, like, I'm at a show with 1,200 people who are my best friends. I just haven't met them yet.
Yep.
And that's what music does in that community. So after Dookie, how did you start to find your own way into finding music? Because I know, as a homeschooled Christian kid, you probably had the DC talks, and Amy Grant popped up before when we were talking, and there was, I was in Young Life. I did all that kind of stuff too. I get it. So there was music that was kind of, hey, this is okay to listen to. So how did you start to branch out to find your own stuff in your own pocket?
Well, I think Tooth and Nail Records, like a lot of other people, played a huge role in stuff. But I can remember, so the first album I ever bought with my own money was MXPX's On the Cover. And I brought it home, and I was so excited about it. And my dad and I started listening to it, and Summer of '69 came on, and he's like, hold up, this isn't a Christian band. I'm like, well, I just bought it at the Christian bookstore. He's like, this is not a Christian song. And so I actually had to go take it back and return it. And so that was an interesting, kind of humbling experience. And I ended up buying Plank Guy's Commonwealth and then building from there. But I had, again, like a group of friends, a youth group kids and whatnot, who introduced me to stuff. And I get, like, hear snippets of things that were outside of that, I guess, tooth and nail pocket. And then I went to college, and kind of, it was right, like, when Bleed American came out and Something to Write Home About, and just everything just blew up from there. And it was a whole new world. And I saw The Faint play multiple times down in Carborough, and, like, just so much stuff that just changed my world in that, like, 2001, 2002 timeframe.
What was the first concert you ever attended?
So this is a sad story. The first concert I ever attended was the Juliana Theory opening for Sensefield, and I left before Sensefield played. And I mean, the Juliana Theory was amazing, and I loved that. And I did get to see Sensefield on the Living Outside tour, which was amazing to see. And I'm so glad I saw John before he passed. But just a huge regret on my part from that. Well,
there's moments in your life, especially when you're young too, of not knowing certain things. There's the rule that I haven't broke in my older years, is that when doors open, I'm there, because I'm not missing an opener. There's somebody I may have never heard of that's going to blow my mind. But when your younger college years, you're like, well, I bought a ticket to see this band and that's the band I'm going to see. And then I'm gone.
Yep.
And, as you get older, you get wiser, supposedly. I don't know. I've been told.
So some people say that. I'm not. I'm hoping I'll get there.
So if that was your first concert, what was your favorite concert you ever got to see?
Oh, the Faint touring Dance Macabre. Seeing them, they were the first band I ever saw like string up lights and tie it to the beats, because everything was running off electric drum kit. And it was just insane. And just seeing them do something that, I mean, I'd always had like this idea of techno music, and then seeing them incorporate punk rock and new wave in a way that they did, just absolutely mind blowing.
Do you have a band in your life that never lets you down? There's certain people call it a favorite band. I don't. I look at certain bands, for me, it's something I can always go to, where they come up with something new, and I'm never let down. Do you have a band like that in your life?
I've got 3 that are coming to mind immediately. So I'm going to go with them all, and you're going to have to deal with it.
I'll take it.
So Branson was that band for me for a long time, and the fact that I'm able to work with Matt now, and Matt runs Steadfast Records, just absolutely a mind-blowing honor to me, because that band was huge for me. Engine Down around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they went from being that loud post-hardcore band to just being a band that captured melody and tension so well with what they did. And then a modern band, Gates. I just absolutely love everything that they've done.
Fellow Jersey boys, and Gates came up on an episode recently, and it's again in my life, watching bands like a Gates and just evolve and become as I say, a professional band.
Yep.
They don't miss. It's their heart and soul. You can feel it in everything that they do. And for me to talk to people and be like, oh, the new Gates came out, and somebody's like, who? And as soon as that comes, like, I get angry, like I get upset inside. I'm like, what do you mean who? Like, Gates, like, they're great. Like, how do you not know who they are? And that's the kind of stuff that it's like, I know there's so much stuff out there, and I know you're doing your job with a record label to make sure talent comes to the forefront. I'm trying to do the same thing here by taking talent that I think people need to hear and just bring it to the forefront. But again, like, you have to have some of those moments too, especially if you have a band on your label, and just start to talk to somebody and they don't know who they are, and there has to be a little bit of anger inside of you, right? Like, and not necessarily anger, but like upset, like being a little upset at it.
Well, there's that angle to it, but there's also like, wow, this is someone that I can introduce to Living Outside, right? Parallel Lives, and be like, here, you need to hear this album and hear why this is so great, right? Or like when I talk about Friend Club, like, hey, you haven't heard of Curtail, but you need to hear When This Way Sets, because this album is just so in the pocket and so perfect, and I don't know how it ended up with us, and it's absolutely insane that it did. Or the fact that Post Skeleton, which is Andrew from the Jazz Junes new band, came to us, right? And like being able to work with someone like that, like, it's just so exciting to be able to introduce people to new music. And I think that's anyone who's running a record label, I'm sure, is the same thing, right? But being able to have that moment where like you can come to someone and be like, here's a new band that you're going to love because you like these other bands, and I can't wait for you to hear them and hear what you think back of it. They like hear back from you what you think of it.
Yeah, and it's also it's your, I guess you have that sense of discovery when it comes to you, but you get to see that sense of discovery when it comes to giving it to someone else, right?
Yes, and that's such a joyful moment when someone messages you back and you're like, hey, you were right. Like, I love this. It's like, yes, that's so awesome.
It's a good moment when, I have my friend group, and, it's not a friend club, it's a friend group. But if I just send something out, like a song, hey, check this out. And somebody come back to me and be like, I don't know what this is, but it's the greatest thing I heard in the past 10 years. And I'm like, yes, I did it.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I did that with Gates with one of my friends. Their CDs were like really, really cheap, and I was kind of blown away how cheap they were. I bought 10 copies of each CD, made a 3-pack, and started handing them out to friends and being like, here you go. You got to listen to these guys.
That's amazing. That's a true friend move right there. Now,
Well,
what you should have done is bought the tapes when they had the tapes on sale for dirt cheap.
I still have the tapes. I still
Good.
have pockets of tapes too. I think I have 4 copies of each album on tape.
Nice.
So I did that as well. I'm a sucker for physical ownership of music.
So that was the thing. Initially, I wanted to have our slogan be music should be something you can hold, because like there's something about the art, the moment of picking up that artifact, holding it, being able to look at the art and actually have it something be in your hands and put it on, whether it's on the turntable or in the cassette deck, and press play and then experience it from beginning to end instead of just clicking play on a playlist and seeing what the algorithm gives you. Right? Like there's something intentional about it.
Yeah, and nowadays though too, like a playlist comes on but you find yourself having to open your phone constantly to see what it is you're listening to. Like that's what I found with a lot of stuff. It's like, oh my God, who is this? Oh my God, who is this? Oh my God, who is this? This is great, but at the same time, now I'm not paying attention to the music because I have to look to see who someone is half the time, when I can put in the work and put in the effort and find the music and, own it, put it on. I mean, I look around, I'm an organized pack rat, like looking around, 3,500 records around me, 2,000 CDs directly in front of me, stacks of tapes. And it's like, man, I love just taking a CD, opening up the booklet like I was in high school again, and just like reading the liner notes and seeing things. And one of the big things is the label. Just like you got when you find a label that you attach yourself to. You brought up Tooth and Nail, and
Yep.
Friend Club is becoming one of those that if it's on Friend Club, you're probably gonna enjoy it. And that's a huge testament to a label. I mean, that was my thing growing up, not knowing, just being like, oh, I found Dashboard Confessional because it was on Vagrant.
Yep. That is, can I just interrupt you? That, like, what you just said is the most humbling and honoring thing as a label person to hear you say. Like that trust is just insanely appreciated. So thank you for saying that, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to do what we're doing.
Well, I mean, you've started small, you've gotten, kind of big in a short period of time, but it is instilling that trust. And I mean, I think that's a label's obligation, honestly, is to, once you build that trust, to keep that trust there, and to make sure what you're doing, and you can go outside of your zone and of what you would normally have, and bring in some different things. But just knowing that it was, I guess, curated by the label gives it some provenance. I'm using a lot of fucking big words, and I don't know why.
I'm just chuckling because I tried to think of a title for myself I wanted to have Friend Club be on my resume for some reason, and I put curator, and so the fact that you used curated there, I found kind of funny.
But it kind of is, right? I mean, that's kind of your job.
Yep, exactly.
What label besides Tooth and Nail that you grew up around, that you had that total freedom to know that when you grabbed it, you were good? You didn't need to know the band beforehand or anything.
Well, so Vagrant was definitely one of them. That's why I don't know if you knew this, but we just put out a tribute with Wiretap with a bunch of our bands. I had this idea one day over Christmas break a year and a half ago, where I was like, I loved Vagrant as a kid. Let's do a tribute. And I threw it in the band chat, and all of a sudden people were claiming songs, and it turned into something that's really cool, and I'm super stoked on. So they were one. Take Hold, before they were acquired by Tooth and Nail, was a big one for me. That's Chad from Furnace Fest label. Mm-hmm. Before he joined Tooth and Nail. I'm looking at my cassette tapes, and they're all modern, so that doesn't really help me with this discussion. Saddle Creek, right?
Yeah, Saddle Creek, huge.
Saddle Creek was a huge thing, where if it was on Saddle Creek, it was going to be special. Yeah, let's go with those for. Oh, an Asian Man. We've got to give credit to Mike Park, who's somehow
Still
through
doing it.
all of this, still doing it and still just hitting it out the park again and again and again. Like he's just someone who's insanely special and is a, a blessing to all of us in the punk scene.
Yeah, and there's another label that I hold near and dear, and people like some people in my friend group are like, I can't believe you still seek out stuff on that label. One was Deep Elm. That for me was, I mean, in the late '90s, early 2000s, Deep Elm with the music that was constantly being put out by them. I mean, I was just, and the Emo Diaries, that whole collection that they came up with was just insane.
Oh, Deep Elm was Deep Elm was just amazing. Like they knocked so much out of the park with what they did. I mean, we referenced Branson earlier, Appleseed Cast, Cross My Heart, Camber. Like there was just so much great stuff that came out of Deep Elm. And then I guess we should also should give credit to Equal Vision too, right? Because Equal
Yeah,
Vision was another
Equal
one.
Vision. Yeah, still going strong too.
Still going strong. And like we were able to, that's what you asked me about, albums that changed my life that we were able to work with. We did the Rocking Horse Winter's Horizon, which was, I mean, for me, I absolutely love Jolie. I think everything she's done is amazing. I love the Darling Fire, but that album from the Rocking Horse Winter was one that I went back to time and time again when I was in college, and to be able to put out tapes for that now and help people rediscover it now, that was huge.
Yeah, I mean, and finding that stuff and being able to work with stuff from the past. I mean, that has to be some of those moments for you where you're just, again, why me? And I mean, do you ever revel or sit back and truly just when something like that happens? I mean, do you just sit back and take it all in, or is it just all business when it has to be?
I mean, it has to be all business what it has to be, but I mean, those moments where it's like, there, it can be, running a record label can be massively discouraging, right? Like when you get super stoked on something, and I won't name names, but there's some projects we've had where I've been super stoked on them, and I'm like, everyone's going to be super excited about this, and it hasn't landed the way that I thought it was going to. That can be really discouraging. But then when you get something like that, where someone comes along, or someone like you reaches out and is like, hey, let's have a conversation about what you're doing, and you're stoked on what we're doing, like that to me, just that's the lifeblood of this, and that's what this is about, is giving back to others, and then getting that positive feedback back is just, it warms my heart.
Yeah, and there are those moments like same thing we do here on the show. If I have someone who I am firmly behind, totally believe in, and push to no end, and to see, in my watch the downloads and just be like, wow, that didn't hit the way I wanted it to. And
Yep.
then like I go back and I question everything about it. I'm like, well, what did I say wrong? Let me go back to let me listen to it over and over again. And then all of a sudden, and that has happened in the past where, yeah, in the first month it got no traction. And then like 5 months later, holy shit, why is this blowing up now? But at least it eventually is. And
Yep.
that's the, where that immediate satisfaction thing too is a hard thing to, when you're playing for likes, I guess, as I call some bands. Some bands only play for likes.
Yep.
They don't play for music, and and for the love of music. And a lot of times you can tell the difference in true artists and artists who play for likes.
Well, I think that's what we've tried to curate here, and it's why I think we tend to gravitate to an older set of bands, I guess you could say, because they've been around for a while and they know that they're doing what they do because they love what they're doing, not because they're trying to fit into some algorithm.
And that is, I mean, when it comes to music nowadays, and I've had conversations like that with bands, is like, hey, are you writing songs to an algorithm? And I've had artists who be like, we wrote 2 songs on our album to an algorithm. Yes, we absolutely did, because people need to find it. And then when they do, hopefully they go to the album and listen to the other stuff. But some bands are truly, doing that. I'm like, well, and they're like, you don't understand. Like, we need to make $1 at some point, because we're 5 albums in, we're touring, now we kind of have to see that we have to write a song that is 3 minutes and 8 seconds long. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, I don't know how you write music like that. They're like, it's extremely hard, but sometimes you got to do it. And I think that's too much pressure, especially for younger bands nowadays too.
So I had this bizarre idea one day that I got really excited on for like 30 seconds and then realized it was horrible. Where I was like, every band should take the first 5 seconds from their song, the best 5 seconds, and put it at the beginning of the song and just play those 5 seconds and then go to the actual song. So like it would hit the algorithm with those first 5 seconds. And it was the worst idea that's ever been had in the history of humanity. But but it was like that's what these algorithm things make you think. Like it's like that's not what we need to be doing. Like let's just put out music that we love because we love it. And if no one cares, well, I care, and I'm going to do everything I can to validate you as a musician because what you're doing is important.
Yeah, but what's also good about it, and what I try to tell people when they're like, oh yeah, I put up this album and then I deleted the whole thing. It was my first solo try, and I'm like, don't take it away, because there could have been one person in South Africa that fell in love with it, and now it's no longer there for them to have because it was only digitally that you put it out there. Like you once you create it and put it out in the world, like that's what I love about music is the first recording ever made is still available.
Yep.
So once it's out there, leave it out there because someone is attached to it. No matter what you may think as an artist or a label head, like someone out there absolutely fell in love with it and didn't tell you about it, didn't reach out to you about it, but there is somebody that loves it. So don't ever get rid of anything.
I think that's such a great perspective, right? Because I'm sure every band has that song or those songs that they're like, I could just go back and throw that in the trash. But yet there's someone out there that loves it. Look at Zayo, for example, right?
Yeah.
They went and re-recorded All Else Failed because they hated it. But yet today, I'm never listening to that re-record, but I will definitely go back and listen to the original pressing of All Else Failed because that album absolutely rocks, and it was important to me at that point in time. So exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like one song, one note can change a life, and I've always been of that feeling of once the second it leaves your hands and like goes out into the world, it no longer belongs to you. So
Yep.
you can't judge it anymore because someone else has. So it no longer belongs to you, and you have to be okay with it. I know it's hard. But it's just one of those things. I mean, do you have conversations with artists on your label about things like this when it comes to them putting an album together and trying to figure it out?
Yeah. Oh, and it's also well, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Yes, you are. This absolutely rips, and it's done, and you don't need to keep iterating it from here. Like there are some bands I've worked with who want to just iterate and iterate and tweak and tweak and tweak, and because there's like this analysis paralysis that goes into being afraid of putting your art out there. But at some point, you just have to be like, okay, this is it. This is who I am. This is what we have, and go with it and embrace it. And like you said, someone out there is going to love it, and more often than not, it's going to be more than just one person.
Yeah, and so I try to do this with my wife. My wife loves to paint and just a beautiful, great artist, but she has this problem where I start yelling at her. I'm like, too much paint on the canvas makes it too heavy to hang. So stop. It's not like you're trying to achieve perfection when it was perfect 2 hours ago.
Yep.
And now you made it imperfect because you were not happy with it and you're not okay. And a lot of times too is people aren't okay with someone telling them it's great, which I don't understand.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of as an artist, there's a lot of personal fear, and you always see its flaws. When I talk to Reese about the art that we do, he always has, well, this could have been, and it's like, but what you did is amazing. The layout that you did is amazing. So why are you second guessing this, that, and the other thing? And like that's what it comes to. Like at some point, you just have to put things out there and embrace the chaos that comes with that, as opposed to being afraid.
Yeah, and as I say to people in my real job at times is okay is just fine. Like, and that's it's just it's my little mantra. Like, okay is just fine. Could it be better? Maybe, but okay is just fine. Let's move on to the next thing. we're good. Let's go.
Yep. That, and then along the same lines, it was a lesson that I don't know if you remember this from Furnace Fest, but it was everywhere. But the whole "it's okay not to be okay," right? Like,
Yeah.
it's okay for something to not be perfect, or you to not feel perfect, but that's okay. We can still work with what we are. We're all imperfect. Everyone's imperfect to some degree, but we all can get better every single day, and we can always try to be kinder today than we were yesterday.
Yeah, and I think that's one of my favorite things about Furnace Fest is if you sit back and people watch, it is the greatest collection of human beings in one area that would be judged immensely outside of those gates. And that's one of those things where it's like no one here gives a fuck what your background is. No one gives a fuck what color you are. No one gives a fuck what what race, what religion, gender. No one cares. We're all here for the same thing. And that's 3 days of like when I left, and it was 4 days, the day before with all the pre-shows at night.
Yep.
But it's just one of those things that it's like I wish there was a version of this world that was outside of these gates all the time.
So I don't know if you're in it, but there is a Furnace Fest community Facebook group.
I'm in that group. Yep.
And that group to me feels like the closest thing I've experienced outside of that festival to that type of an environment. I mean, that whole attitude lives on there, and I think that's what I find happening a lot. And most of my friends are through Facebook or Twitter or whatever, because that's where we find like there's a community of acceptance. It's not something we have to go fit into XYZ box, right? We can just be who we are, and everyone loves everyone, and that's amazing.
Yeah. And listen, you're being a part of curating and bringing bands to the forefront that are part of that group. Like that in and of itself should just be, let you lay your head and go to sleep comfortably every night.
Oh, that was like we found Painted Light through that group. I actually met Painted Light and Riot for Romance through at Furnace Fest, and so being able to work with them through that group and see especially Painted Light grow to who they are through what they did in that group, it was really cool, and it really made us want to work with them.
That's awesome. All right, let's get to some personal questions here. What's the last song you cried to?
It was Gates.
Wow.
I was just going through some stuff and was listening to Shiver by Gates.
Wow. All right. A lot of Gates love. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. If you had a theme song when you walked out into public, what would it be? You walk out your door and the song plays every time. It's like an opening to a sitcom.
I not necessarily the biggest fan of this person, but Apocalypse Wow by Reggie.
Right.
Like, I just love the way that song gets after it, and I don't know, that just makes me smile.
I get it. I get it. Guilty pleasures, something that someone would be very surprised to hear that you love listening to.
Oh, I definitely was jamming the new Miley Cyrus today and was just like really, really into it. So, yep.
All right. That's totally fine. She's got the clothes. I've said that people got in arguments. I'm like, listen, she has a 1977 Stevie Nicks voice and just got to be okay with it. Like,
yep.
And people are like, no, I'm like, I'll play you early Stevie and you'll be like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. Yes. So she's going to be crazy old and still doing it. So good. All right. You're a teenager. You're at the roller skating rink.
Yeah.
You want to ask your crush to do the little circle around the rink together holding hands. What song would be playing?
It probably would be Couple Skate by Joe Christmas.
Okay.
Which I don't know if you've heard or not, but it's a 90s alt rock just kind of shuffling jam that Tooth and Nail put out in, I think, 96 or 97, but it's about skating around the rink at a roller rink. It's a perfect song for it, and it's Hold My Hand, Skate With Me. So that would have been it.
That's kind of perfect. Mine's usually something off of Chicago's Greatest Hits, anything with Cetera at the time in the 80s. So,
but I mean, and now today it would be Cobra Starship, right? Just because of Gabe's describing that as roller rink music. Whenever I think roller rink music, I think of Cobra Starship.
Oh my God, that is funny. It kind of is now. Anytime you hear Cobra Starship, and now that's all I'm going to think about is the lights blinking and the neon carpets.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I got that from an AP podcast, I think, where he was interviewed, and they asked him what he was trying to get at with Cobra Starship, and that's how he described it. He said he was trying to make music that reminded him of the roller rink when he was a kid.
Huh. Nice. 17 years old, you just get your driver's license. You go to pick up your best friend. What was on the radio?
Branson, trying to figure each other out.
Wow. Locked and loaded. Like it. All right. Meteors coming to crash into the earth. You have 5 minutes left to live, and you have to listen to one song and one song only. What would it be?
I'm going to listen to Darkness So Blue by Sandco because it was the first single that we had on Friend Club, and that means a lot to me.
All right. Done with those quick fire questions. I think so far you may have been the fastest to answer all of those. That was a very quick segment of rapid fire, and you nailed it.
I can go back and slow it down if you want me to.
No, it's totally fine. So moving forward for Friend Club, since this started as your passion project and it's grown exponentially, I mean, what is your continuation and your, sometimes there has to be that end goal at some place and you're probably not there, but what is it that you want to continue to do and strive with Friend Club moving forward?
The goal with Friend Club is to just sustainably continue to do this and support our friends in a way that's fun. Like, really, that's all it is. And I don't know if it's going to be putting out more records or if it's going to be scaling back and just doing tapes or what it's going to be, but it's going to be about just continuing to do things for people that we appreciate and their art that we value. And hopefully other people continue to enjoy the ride with us.
Well, I've enjoyed it in the short period of time it's around. I've had fun talking to people who are on the label and speak very highly of you. I find something that, again, that you've curated that I can count on, and I want to say thank you again for that.
No, thank you for caring enough to speak kindly about it. It's an absolute privilege and honor. Like, I think that's the thing about this that has been, if there's a way to describe how I feel about this, is it is a privilege and just an absolute honor. Every single band that we work with, I sit there and I think, why the heck do they want to work with us? And like, I'm just some guy in Buffalo, New York, right? Like, I try to be nice to people but like, I don't know, like, why would you want to work with us? Why did Jesse from Curtail come to me and be like, hey, I want to work with you? Like, what the heck? Like, I absolutely love their music, and being able to do something with them and be a part of it, like, that's just so special to me. And every single artist on the label I've got stories like that with, where it's just an honor.
Well, I think it's because you've built a home environment where, and I'm sure there's labels out there that aren't that homey feel where you said it. And I mean, early on in the show, you've created the family. And there's nothing more important in this world than family. And again, what's the old saying? Your friends are your family. You get to choose.
Yep.
And and that's to some extent that is 100% the way to live life. I've always looked at it. If I can count my best friends on one hand, I consider myself the luckiest person in the world, and I get to do that on my two hands and feet, to count my best friends that I know I can count on and to be there. And that's the most important thing. And you've created that with a record label, which is fucking outstanding.
It blows my mind. So again, thank you for speaking kindly of it. I really appreciate it.
Now, talking about Friend Club, why don't you tell everyone, we're going to come into our last segment here, so why don't you tell everyone to find all the stuff you're doing throughout all your handles and your websites and stuff right now, so everybody can go to Friend Club and become a purveyor like me.
So everything is, friendclubrecords.com. We have friendclubrecords.bandcamp.com. Everything else is at friendclubrecs. And don't bother looking at our TikTok, please, because it's embarrassing. But yeah, no, that's us.
All right. Well, here's our last segment. It is our segment of our weekly threes, everyone. It is 3 things that we're listening to right now. So, Rob, give me 3 things you're listening to right now that you'd like people to check out.
3 things that I'm listening to right now. I'm going to qualify this by saying I'm not going to go with anything on Friend Club because that's prejudice, bias, whatever. I just finished listening to this tape by an artist called David Grace on my friend Ryan's label Furious Hooves, and it's like this really cool, eclectic, electronic kind of atmospheric thing. Definitely something for folks to check out. I'm obsessed with the band Fuck. It's Fuvk, who are on my friend Philip's label Z Tapes from Texas, like really soft, moving indie folk stuff.
Yep, I know who they are. Very good.
And what's the third? My problem is I listen to my music in alphabetical order, so I'm trying to think of stuff that's current that I.
See, I write down everything in alphabetical order, so I leave major spaces on. I have so much paper.
Yeah. Third one, right now. It's a little bit. It's a little bit older, but my friend Anthony made this album called Empty Heaven. Anthony used to be in a band called the Island of Misfit Toys. And his album is called Getting the Blues, and it's just this really good rock and roll record, and definitely would encourage everyone to check that out.
Awesome. Good 3. My 3 for this week are, the first one is a band called Crash the Calm. They're a New York post-hardcore band. The name of the album is A Town Named Nowhere. Next is a band called Raccoon City from Australia. Australia's got some awesome shit coming out of there. I implore everybody to start finding out everything that's happening in Australia because the music scene there is fucking insane. But the band is called Raccoon City. The album's called For Nobody Nowhere. And last but not least, Static Dress. British hardcore indie. They're meshing a lot of sounds together, but a band is called Static Dress. The name of the album is Rogue Carteret Disaster. Those are my 3 for this week.
That Static Dress album sounds fascinating. I'm going to have to check this out now.
It's really good. It's one of those things that, judging a book by its cover, I looked at it and I was just like, and then I listened to it and I was like, fuck, this is good.
That's awesome.
But Rob, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for bringing bands to light. Thank you for doing what you do as a label head, and you know, it's very commendable what you do. So thank you for it.
Well, thank you, Shane. Thank you for doing this podcast and for all the fact that you've brought some of our bands on and just all the stuff that you're doing for the scene. It's important work.
Well, someone's got to do it, so we might as well do it together, right?
Exactly.
But everybody, you know what time it is. Go out, listen to something on Friend Club Records, and have a great fucking time.
The brain, a pulpy mass of cells and fibers, is the center of the network of fibers that make up man's nervous system. And in man, in the conscious state, much behavior is based on learning.
Point blank in the forehead, really wanted to affect my waistline. 2 stares in the mirror, always wanted to replace my eyesight. I wish a tidal wave would set my organs back to stop projecting all the fears I don't see, and let my body match my mind so that I'm finally free. I'll tie my hair up in a bun and match my nails to my dress. I'm still the only one who matters that I need to impress.
Much behavior is based on learning.
Will I ever be able to feel a thing? Keep my insides a secret till we're whispering. Will I ever be able to feel a thing? No one wants you to share that you're struggling.
I will always try to speak true with you, my love. Though the days will come when you fear the truth, like the cancer we found that had haunted you, and all the snapped family ties that you've tangled through. I know you're tired, but so am I, and the dawn comes soon. Will you stay with sunlight? Held by heart that burns bright. Enough to raise the dead and give sight. Now river roars where only dust runs dry. The walls are closing in, the flower dresses fade away, the color's gray. You're trapped within your skin, throwing stones to break the mold on your own. You never came back for me. You left me here to drown alone.
them spread like a shockwave in the dead of space. See the gnats take to flight and begin to race. The coming onslaught seems so out of place. Thankful that I've got a little more control of my life and can see what's coming my way. On the road, it's pouring waves above my head, push me down till I drown. Crashing in as the tides catch me surprised. All this time, still barely hanging
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band. And don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.